This is Misty. You might be wondering why she looks like this, and that's quite simple to answer. It's because of James dressing up like this. Recently, I uploaded this video. It performed, and I'm assuming the reason as to why is because that video featured a Pokemon episode with guns and attempted murder. So we are going to talk about another episode that features attempted murder among a litany of other crimes, as well as boob jobs and a child competing in a bikini contest. So let's talk about it, shall we? We first start at this lovely beach at a place known as the Porta Vista Resort, located on the Porta Vista Island. And straight away, you can tell this episode is gonna hit different, because some of these character models, well, they have some subtle details. Ash and the gang are introduced, including Misty, and Ash and Brock are caught off guard when they see Misty, and according to Ash, it's because...
It's just weird to see you looking like a girl.
And pause again. Because yes, that's the dub that you are hearing. Well, kinda. You see, this is actually the Japanese sub, with the English dub overlaid, because this episode was still banned from initial release outside of Japan. As to why that is the case, well, I'll explain to that later. For now, Misty throws this inflatable master ball into Ash's face, and he nearly drowns as a result. Meanwhile, Team Rocket is introduced into the episode, and we see them using pedals to drive their Gyarados submarine. Still better than a gaming controller if you ask me. They immediately spot our trio of heroes who for some reason are now on board an expensive boat being driven by Ash, which they totally own. Right?
The boat's beautiful. Who's it belong to? I don't know.
And just like that, here is our first crime of the day. Theft. This is followed by our second crime of the day, usage of a stolen vehicle. And this is followed by our third crime of the day, property damage, times 3, as they destroy the Gyarados sub, causing it to sink, this wooden dock, and the boat itself. This dock and boat is owned by this pissed off old man right here. He's understandably livid because these 3 twerps managed to steal and destroy his stuff. However, that anger is seemingly pissed away when Ash hides behind Misty, to which our old man reacts like this, then states this.
You remind me of my granddaughter.
Why does this 10-year-old dressed up in a swimsuit remind you of your granddaughter? Also, why did you look like this when you saw Misty for the first time? In terms of first impressions, this guy's just off to a bad start. Nevertheless, we move on to Team Rocket, whom after surviving their peril underwater, are forced into employment at this restaurant run by this old hag right here, all for the purpose of repairing their damaged sub. And they're doing a good job, as they are getting a plethora of customers, much more than the restaurant next door, whose employees are, you guessed it, our trio of heroes, who themselves are forced into employment at this restaurant run by the pissed off old man, all in an effort to pay back the damages caused by their reckless decision making. And while the start is slow after Ash decides to utilize his Pokemon, things are progressing well for our trio. That is, until Team Rocket decides to do what they do best. Commit crime. It's more so Meowth committing the various crimes, but I digress. First, we see Meowth using this possibly stolen fan to send a bunch of flyers, well, flying. Then Meowth proceeds to learn a new fire-type move, Arson, as well as a dark-type move called Attempted Murder, and both are super effective. But it's Meowth's expert use of littering that creates the most repercussions. By throwing away this banana peel, it creates a chain reaction, starting with Bulbasaur slipping on the peel, followed by Misty being concerned, which leads to her slipping up herself, leading to her losing some food, and... yeah. A couple 1-star reviews later, and our heroes are back to square one. And then we really go downhill. You ready? Because Misty in particular is about to evolve into her final form for this episode. From an accessory, to a clumsy waitress, to a bikini contest participant at the ripe old age of 10. What the fuck? I should point out that in the dub at least, Misty herself is willing to compete in this contest. I should also point out that they also try to market this decision as a heartwarming example of perseverance, to never give up, to always strive for greatness, to be the best like no one ever was.
Ash is right, Mo. You can't let that lady take your boat away.
We can get the money somehow. We'll work together.
Oh, and the person that initially sparked this idea? None other than Professor Oak himself. Oh, and would you look at that? Ash's mom is here to support as well, and she's clearly dressed for the occasion.
How come you two are here?
We'll explain that later.
Professor Oak, living up to his motto. Because there's a time and place for everything, am I right? Ash's mother claims that she and Oak are at the resort along with their tour group, perfectly innocent, totally not doing anything inappropriate. Or anyone. We then transition to Brock, who is announcing this contest because it's Brock. But also, isn't this contest happening on the same day that they learned about it? Realistically, why on earth would Brock just randomly appear as the play-by-play commentator in this random bikini contest that he just knew on the day it was happening? Maybe, just maybe, and this is a dumb theory that I have, but perhaps Professor Oak was the one that organized the event. It's just that he needed a play-by-play announcer, and so he decided to pick Brock, because it's Brock. I mean, you never know what Oak is capable of doing. Or who.
This is totally embarrassing and degrading, but we need the money.
And that is effectively the plot synopsis of this entire episode. But it's not the main event.
優勝は私たちがいただくわ。
小次郎、何よ、あんた男でしょ?
This is the main event. If you're semi-familiar with Pokemon, then you probably know that James dressing up as a female is not only normal, but it's kinda sorta part of his job. In fact, he's even kissed Ash once when he was dressed up. With that being said, inflatable breasts is a bit too raunchy for a kid's show. This scene alone is the reason why this episode was banned, although so many other scenes and dialogue from this episode are just absurd in their own right. Like this bit, where James, whilst doing that, clearly states to the viewer that Misty is at a disadvantage because she's a minor. In any event, Team Rocket goes back to doing something that they're much more good at. Raising hell, this time by driving their now repaired sub into the heart of the beach and shooting what is later confirmed by Brock as heat-seeking missiles directly into the crowd. Ash uses his Charmander and Pidgeotto to stop the missiles. It works, and one of them even locks on the sub itself. Team Rocket attempts to retreat, only to head straight into the old hag's restaurant, and they blast off again. For his heroics, Ash is awarded this trophy, and the episode ends with our heroes walking away in a manner that totally isn't gratuitous or subtle at all. Bing. So a couple of things to point out. First is the trophy that Ash is given, which in the dub states, "First place in our hearts, Ash Ketchum." Now, some people have interpreted that as Ash actually being the winner of this damn bikini contest, and while he would eventually dress up like this, I think it's safe to say that there was actually no winner in this bikini contest because of how much of a disorganized wreck it was. Though, according to the Bulbapedia article, the sub implies that Ash's mother was holding the trophy in order to give it to the winner. Or who knows, maybe Ash's mother just won the damn bikini contest. The other bit that I want to point out relates to a question that I pondered earlier. Why was this dub still released even though the episode was banned? Well, in 2000, ads for a lost episode of Pokemon were released, and when this lost episode was finally aired later that same year, the title for that episode was Beauty and the Beach, aka this episode. However, it was heavily edited, with certain scenes being removed, with the most notable ones involving James and his inflatable breasts. Which leads to this final takeaway of mine. The reason as to why Team Rocket were doing all of their shenanigans was because they were broke. They needed money in order to repair their damaged submarine. Which is why I want to ask, James, how on earth did you afford this?